ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So further, we are seeing here of how the different principles of creation came into existence, the different duties prescribed for different varnas, for different ashramas. All of them came into existence one by one from Lord Brahma. So here it is said, Savitram, the third ceremony of the twice born, Prajapatyam, to execute the vow for 1 year, Brahmam, acceptance of the Vedas, Brihat, complete abstinence from sex life, Varta, vocation in terms of Vedic sanctions, then Sanchaya, professional duty, Shalina, livelihood without asking anyone for cooperation, then Shila, Unchaha, picking up rejected grains, then Grahe, household life. So all these came into existence one after another from Brahmaji. In the purport, Prabhupada specifically describes about the beginning of spiritual life, beginning from Brahmachari. So Prabhupada says here, during student life, the Brahmacharis were given full instructions about the importance of human form of life. So, this is very interesting, very important. Brahmachari life is actually meant, it is designed in such a way that gradually one can become free from any kind of lusty desires, indulgence, family encumbrances. And gradually one can understand that all these are the path of leading to material degradation. So Brahmachari life is meant for education. But of course, we should not misunderstand education in terms of only theoretical understanding or reading. As we see, Prabhupada gave in Krishna conscious life in the temples a variety of combination of studies, other important aspects of sadhana, services, cultivation of proper attitude, cultivation of proper perceptions. All these are training in Brahmacharya. Actually, I remember one, we all know about that. Once, Prabhupada gives this example. One student, he went to the teacher to learn something, some instruments he wanted to learn. Another student also came. One of them had already learned something, and he knew some things about instruments, how to play. Another was completely new. So the student, when they approached the Guru said, "The new one I will charge you only 100 rupees. And you will be able to learn within 6 months. And the another one who had already learned something, hodgepodge, he said, I will charge you double the amount. You have to pay me 200 rupees. And you will take at least minimum of 1 year to learn." So he was very surprised. Already I know so many things. And Guru is telling me that I will be charged more and I will take more time. So then Guru explained to him, first I have to give you training to take out what all is there in your head. First I have to erase all those things, all the perceptions, all the different kind of things you have already formed about learning this instrument. Then I have to give you proper instruction. So 100 rupees for erasing, 100 rupees for making you to teach. And 6 months for erasing and 6 months for learning. You see. So actually, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we all come with different kinds of perceptions, right? We come from colleges, we come from having association of our friends, we come from our family upbringing, right? So all these things have formed our behavior, they have formed certain nature in us. We become sometimes agitated, sometimes very angry. Why? All these things have affected us, isn't it? And somebody has learned certain things outside. Somebody is in engineering college, he was studying. Somebody was in MBA college, he has learned, mastered in certain things, arts, isn't it? Now when we come to Krishna consciousness, we should understand that all of these things have to be properly channelized. Our attitudes, culture is not about some theoretical knowledge. Culture means all the knowledge should be manifest in our action. Let us say we talk about humility, and I can give a big lecture on humility. And when it comes to real practical circumstances and knowledge, and then we fail to even act to the proper grace, then where is the question of learning humility? Isn't it? See, actual real knowledge means when it becomes manifest in action. Other day we were hearing in the class, if all of you remember, Krishna consciousness is not just theoretical knowledge. Jnana, Vijnana, Sahitam. Not that we have learned from Bhagavad Gita, when difficult circumstances comes, we should be, we should think Krishna, He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and He has given me only token amount of suffering. Actually, I am supposed to suffer much more. It's not just theoretical knowledge. We have to apply that in our real day-to-day life. Then it will become factual, realized knowledge. You see, it's very, very important to understand these things. So, culture means, Prabhupada explains, you may be king's son, you may be a poverty-stricken son. When you come to the spiritual master, you are equal. We should not be thinking my upbringing was something like of a kingly order. I was a prince in the house. I should be treated like a prince. No. Our attitude, our conditioning, all those things have to be molded in brahmachari life. That is the meaning. If brahmachari life, we have come with certain conditions in our head and we are thinking, no, that is how I am. That is how I am going to live. That is not brahmacharya life. Brahmacharya life means you may be king's son, you may be carpenter's son, that does not matter. When you come to live in the ashram of the spiritual master, you have to live for Guru Hitam. And you have to serve like a nicha, like a menial servant. You see? Prabhupada gave the example of Krishna. When he was in Sandipani Muni's ashram, when the Lord, even though he was from princely order, right? He was son of Vasudeva. They were all princely order. But when he went to the ashram of his guru, he was picking up wood from the jungle. Krishna was remembering. Krishna remembers sometimes, and that how we were picking up wood from that. And sometime it used to rain heavily, and we would not be able to reach the ashram. So there Prabhupada explains that is the meaning of brahmacharya. He is acting, even though he is from princely order, he is acting like a menial servant for Guru's service. So much so Prabhupada explains that they were ordered, go out, beg, door to door. And the brahmacharis, they will all go door to door begging, mother, give me some food, give me some alms. And he has begged everything. He has begged dal, chawal, everything. And then when he comes to the Guru's ashram, everything is handed over to the spiritual master. Not that I have begged, it is mine now. Prabhupada says the disciples, the brahmacharis were taught in obedience to the point, just imagine, Prabhupada gives this example, to the point, if the spiritual master forgets to call him for taking prasadam, he will fast the whole day. Prabhupada says, this is obedience. This is working for Guru Hitam. So, Prabhupada talks about culture of knowledge in brahmacharya. This is very interesting. Culture of knowledge is not reading for 2 hours every day Prabhupada books, and then when it comes to applying in our own life, we don't apply, isn't it? That is not the meaning of culture of knowledge. Culture of knowledge means knowledge should be manifest in our behavior. Knowledge should become manifest in our change of attitude. Knowledge should become manifest in our actions. That is the meaning of culture, not some theoretical knowledge. So, Prabhupada is saying here, during student life, the brahmacharis were given the full instructions about the importance of human life. The basic education was designed to encourage the student in becoming free from family encumbrances. So the whole education was designed that a person understands the temporary nature of this material world. The person understands the falsity of material attachment. He understands the falsity of family affection. He was trained in such a way so that gradually he can give up the desire to enjoy materially. You see? So, this attitude of learning by submissive, being humble in front of the spiritual master is the first principle of brahmacharya. Even greater than the celibacy is obedience to the spiritual master. Prabhupada says, obedience is the first principle of disciple. If you want to become disciple, first important thing is discipline given by the spiritual master. That is the meaning of disciple. If you see the word Shishya, what does it mean? Anyone? If you break this word Shishya, it comes from original Shash Dhatu. What does Shash Dhatu means? Prabhupada explains. There are many other words which come from Shash Dhatu. Raghutam. Shiksha, Shashana, Shastra, Astra. You see? To rule, to abide by the orders of the spiritual master. You see? That is the meaning of Shash Dhatu. Shishya means one who abides by the discipline given by the spiritual master. So, if we don't have that learning attitude, that I want to change my perceptions. I want to change my upbringing, maybe something, my behavior may be something earlier. But now, when I am in the care of spiritual master, I want to become refined in culture and knowledge. That is very important attitude. Prabhupada gives one very wonderful example about how it is not very much important to have lot of material assets. Somebody may have done MBA, somebody may be IIT graduate, somebody may be great, big things he may have done outside. Prabhupada says that is not very important. That is all secondary. What is important is attitude, the learning attitude in Krishna consciousness. So one example Prabhupada gives, once there was one man, he was looking for some people to make him his assistant in his work. So he was carrying on some work. So then he gave in the newspaper one advertisement that I am in need of, such and such assistant. Desired candidates, interested candidate can come and they can give an interview. So then finally, after all selection, he selected 2 of them. So first he called one person. So this person came, and when this person who was interviewing, the boss, he was watching him very carefully. So he saw this man comes, he opens the door and just walks in inside, sits, gives his resume and tells about all his great experience, everything. And then he goes away. Another person comes, and this person comes. Before he enters, first he closes the door and then he comes and sits. And then he also goes out after his interview. So then this person, he calls his secretary and he says, out of these 2 people, one of them is expert at the work. The first one who came, very expert at the work, very highly qualified he is in that work. And the second one, he is quite new and he is not very well experienced. But I am going to take the one who came second, not the first one. So his secretary was surprised. Why? He said, even though the first man, he is highly qualified, he does not have even a simple etiquette of closing the door. He will not learn many things. Whereas the second person, even though he is not very qualified in that field, he has that simple etiquette of closing the door even before he came. He will learn things. So I am going to take him. So Prabhupada explains that actually simply academic qualifications, all those things are not, they're all immaterial. Attitude is very important. What is our attitude? Isn't it? So today we will be seeing some very practical aspects about how to culture our Krishna consciousness while we are living in the ashram. And through certain examples we will try to understand that how it is very, very important that we should have a very important attitude in learning. And Prabhupada says, everything begins with obedience. Everything begins when we are thinking of learning and not that I am perfect, I know things, how things have to be done, I know better than my authorities. That is not qualification. You may be knowing hundreds of things, what you may have practiced outside in corporate world or in planning world, but it will all fail, when we come to Krishna consciousness and when we want to apply without having that attitude of obedience, which is foremost, which is very, very important. All other things will come into track once there is proper obedience. So there is a very nice interesting letter which Prabhupada wrote about this. Obedience. So this is one of the letter Prabhupada says. But the thing is, discipline cannot be observed unless there is obedience. So you want to become a disciple, discipline, but discipline cannot be there until and unless there is obedience. This is very important because sometimes we think, okay, we will be obedient to Prabhupada. Why we have to be obedient to others? But Prabhupada very clearly says, if he has made a system, and in that system if somebody is appointed as some kind of authority, if somebody is obedient to that authority, Prabhupada says, that is like being obedient to me. So then Prabhupada is writing, as you are obedient to me, you should be similarly obedient to my representative. As you are obedient to me, you should be similarly obedient to my representative. Your statement about Brahmananda, that he is a wonderful devotee, is 100% agreed by me. He is in charge of New York Center, and therefore, if proper obedience is not given to him, it will be impossible for him to manage the affairs of the temple. See? So Prabhupada is saying that somebody is appointed as a leader of some of the temple. He is in charge of the New York Center. If proper obedience is not given to him, it will be impossible for him to manage the affairs of the temple. Actually, what had happened, this devotee, to whom Prabhupada is writing, he had observed some discrepancies in the management. He saw that some devotees were not coming for the Mangalarati, somebody was not chanting 16 rounds, somebody were growing hairs, like that, whatever. And this is in response to that Prabhupada is writing. So then Prabhupada is saying, this is very interesting and very important to note. Directly these instructions are given by Prabhupada when such kind of things had happened in the temple and how Prabhupada managed things. It's very important to note. Under the circumstances, the discrepancies you have observed in the temple may be referred to him, and he is quite reasonable and he will handle the matter with respective devotees. Please don't take any direct actions because it will cause disruption. See how Prabhupada, he did not study management, but he was the best expert manager. Expert manager he was. Prabhupada knew very well. Prabhupada is saying, he could have encouraged, oh, you have found some discrepancy in the temple, very good, go and try to correct it. See, no, that is not the way to correct the discrepancies. What is Prabhupada telling him? Prabhupada is telling, under the circumstances, the discrepancies you have observed in the temple, they may be referred to him, and he is quite reasonable and will handle the matter with respective devotees. And Prabhupada is even requesting him, telling him, please don't you take any direct actions because it will cause disruption. So, in an authorized system, even though we may find some discrepancies, until and unless we are authorized, we may bring it to the notice of the authorities. We should not try to, put our head inside that and think that I will correct the situation. Just imagine, think like that. Everybody finds some discrepancies and everybody is thinking, now I am going to take action and I will correct the whole situation. Is it possible? It will become a whole mess. So Prabhupada is first of all teaching obedience, and in the very beginning itself Prabhupada is saying, why is he talking the whole thing? Prabhupada is saying, thing is, discipline cannot be observed unless there is obedience. As you are obedient to me, you should be similarly obedient to my representative. Then Prabhupada is saying that is the first thing. All other things will come into line. But this thing, if you are saying that discipline is not there in the temple, that will come when obedience is there. All other things will follow. See? Then, in another letter, again Prabhupada is saying, irregularities cannot be pointed out by others. It is not their duty. Here Prabhupada is at least telling him, you go and refer this to your temple president, he will solve. In another letter, when Prabhupada saw that this may be becoming a habit of these devotees, Prabhupada is even saying, it is not your business. It is not their business to find out discrepancies. Prabhupada then says, this is in another letter, if one man is appointed as leader, all must follow him and be obedient. Obedience is the first law of discipline. They are pointing out irregularities, but they themselves are not doing their duty. So they are pointing out the irregularities in others. So Prabhupada is saying, who are these one who are pointing out irregularities in others? First of all, they are not following. They are irregular and they are pinpointing irregularities. They came to serve. Now they don't want to serve, so there is some excuse. Oh, irregularity, let me go away. The workers should not suggest irregularities. The business is of the leader who is appointed. He suggests this is irregular or this is. Prabhupada is saying it's not the business of them that they should suggest. Obedience is the first law of discipline. We are thinking of a great worldwide organization which is not possible to be executed if there is disobedience. You see? Another very important point Prabhupada explains that how by this sometimes Prabhupada is saying even if you don't agree with your leader, still you have to cooperate. Because sometimes I may think there is a better method of doing, isn't it? And I suggested this to my leader, he has not taken up this method, isn't it? So I had a better method. I don't agree with his method of management or whatever. Prabhupada is saying still simply cooperate. Even if you don't agree, simply cooperate. So Prabhupada, this is another letter. This morning, I received one telephone message. There is some misunderstanding between yourself and Giriraj, who is in charge of Bombay Center. So some other devotee called Prabhupada saying that Prabhupada is writing this letter to one devotee. And then he is writing, today I received a message, phone call from Bombay Center that you are having some misunderstanding with Giriraj, who is in charge of Bombay Center. I may inform you in this connection that what I am doing to push on this great movement in the world is all with your cooperation. See how Prabhupada is humbly requesting them, that I am trying to push on this movement with all of your cooperation. It is not possible for me alone to execute this great responsibility. Kindly therefore, abide by the direction of the man in charge of the center. If there is lack of obedience, then there cannot be discipline. And without discipline, we cannot manage a huge world organization. In conclusion, it is my request, even you do not agree on some points, Giriraj is in charge, so please follow his direction and that will please me. So Prabhupada is even saying to the point, even if you don't agree with him, you see, even if you are not agreeing with the leader, his way of management, his viewpoint, whatever, Prabhupada is saying, still just cooperate and work with him. That will please me. I am very much anxious to see the progress at Bombay Center, and I want it shall become the first class preaching center in the world. Please help me in this ambition. If we can manage successfully, we will be attractive to the whole world. Our task is very heavy. Do not neglect by paltry disagreement. See? That means focus should not be lost. Focus is to please Prabhupada. Focus is to carry out ambitions of Prabhupada. His ambition is preach. So in that paltry some disagreements happen and then we think that no, we'll give up, not interested, all those things Prabhupada is saying. I hope Krishna will bless you to understand my heart and oblige. So Prabhupada is saying that I am praying to the Lord that He will bless you so that you can understand my heart. See? And then in another letter, one devotee directly wrote to Prabhupada, I am not happy with the management, this is not happening, that is not happening. And then Prabhupada is replying to him, please accept my blessing. I beg to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated nil and have noted the content. It is very good you want to become a very learned in Krishna consciousness. So the strife was, the temple president was telling him that apart from your reading, you should go out for Sankirtana, you should do practical service also. But he was saying, no, I am not very much inclined in that. I want to read, I want to study more of Prabhupada books. So this was the disagreement, and he wrote this to Prabhupada, that actually I want to read more of your books, and this is how this. So Prabhupada is writing to him. It is very good, you want to become very learned in Krishna consciousness. But what good is so much knowledge without practice? What good is that knowledge without practice? Then Prabhupada is saying, obedience must be there. By being submissive in this way and following the direction of temple leader is practicing the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. See what is Prabhupada saying? Prabhupada is saying, knowledge you are acquiring by reading. What is so great about that? By following the direction given by the temple leader to do some services, then this knowledge will become practical. See what he is saying? It is very good, you want to become very learned in Krishna consciousness. What good is so much knowledge without practice? Obedience must be there. By being submissive in this way and following the direction of the temple leader is practicing the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. By being submissive and following whatever services are given, that is the method of gaining practical Krishna conscious knowledge. Disciple means discipline. Without discipline, there cannot be any spiritual progress. Therefore, our system is to follow the authority or superior, not that we can independently question, this is not right, this is wrong, that is not the way. See? So, my best advice to you is, without questioning, you follow the instructions given to you by Vishnu Jana and other leaders and do exactly as they say, then everything will be all right. If you want to study, there is much time in the day for studying, but you must go also on Sankirtan party. That is the result of practice of your studying. Simply studying is dry and useless without chanting. Without chanting here means preaching. You are studying, at the same time you have to preach. Preach means not just simply verbally preaching, going out for Sankirtan, all that thing is also preaching. So this is a very important instruction which Prabhupada is giving about how we have to be, obedient in that direction. One last practical example I would like to quote from my experience in Bangalore when, I was handling the services of temple commander there. So we had that experience that actually there was a devotee who joined, and he was from IIM Bangalore, very reputed institute, known for management, right? Somebody can reduce the volume. humming sound is coming. He was from IAM, and problem was that actually that is why you will find the first services we give in Krishna consciousness when they come is to clean the vessels, or maha cleaning, some kind of toilet cleaning, so that the person, he does not come with that same background, same paradigm of what he was having earlier. As we were discussing, that even king's son, he has to be menial. But somehow this devotee was not inclined, and some or other reason he will give. Back is paining, cannot do, like that. The whole idea was that the temple authorities were able to understand he is having that ego, he is thinking himself to be very distinguished among the others, because practically he was the first IAM student who had joined. We were having, IIT Madhu Pandit Prabhu was there, and ISC Chanchalapati Prabhu was there. Many engineers were joining, but not many MBAs had joined. And IAM is a very prestigious institute. Probably, I think he had done his IIT also, and after that he had done his IAM. I'm not very sure about that. But he was very, like that. He had that kind of idea. He was thinking that I am little different, basically, very qualified. So he would not do that services. And gradually, because he did not get molded into that kind of services, he started with that fault findings in others. So I remember when Janmashtami services, I was in charge of packing services, life members, prasadam, were distributed, donna prasadams were given out, all that. And somehow or other, when I will give instructions, he would follow that. But after going back, he will write a big mail. Probably it could have been organized much better, like that. Different things he will write about whatever services were allotted to him. It could have been done much better, it could have been planned much better, all those things. So he was trying to utilize his principles of whatever he had learnt in his management, because he was a management student and he wanted to show that how much planning, all those things he has learnt. And actually later on, after some time, practically, he left the temple also. Then we actually analyzed that he was trying to find out so many faults in the services. It could have been done like this could have been done like this. Then actually we saw the services he was allotted, and if you make a list of that, he was so messy in those services. You see, he was given a hand of trying to organize some house programs, like that. So even to the simplest thing, that sometimes kartals are not sent, mridangas are not sent. Talking about great big management principles could have been planned. We could have sat together and planned and this and that, isn't it? And when we're just seeing that, all the authorities, we all met together and we were trying to analyze what happened wrong, that finally he left the temple. That how actually he never bent down to change his attitude, to learn. That ego was there in his mind, that I am better. What these people know about planning, what these people know about organizing, I have better understanding. See, what is the use? Isn't it? When a person doesn't want to learn, he has formed his perception, all those things. And then his sadhana, practically in a month, at least 15 absentees will be there. Then we analyzed his sadhana also. So, if he fails to organize his own sadhana, he fails to plan for his own sadhana and services, where is the question of planning and trying to find out faults? This is not planned properly, this is how it should be done, this is how. First learn to plan and organize your own life. Then you try to find out faults with others, that this is not wrong or that is wrong. That is all secondary. That is what we should understand. What is the great deal about that? He has learnt all management principles, all those things. Okay. So, that is not the thing. All those things can be corrected, yes. There is a way, even if somebody wants to contribute, just like Prabhupada gives the example, in front of authorities, in front of the spiritual master, one should be like fool. Then there is a question of learning. Material learning is not learning. Prabhupada is giving that example of that closing the door. He had no etiquette even to close the door. He may have big learnings with him, backing him. What is so great about that? Isn't it? So attitude to learn, attitude to change our understanding, that is very important. So culture of knowledge in Brahmacharya is not just theoretical reading. Culture of knowledge is, after all these things, even if I don't know any shlokas in Bhagavad Gita, if a person has become humble in Krishna consciousness, that is great. He has actually acquired the real jewels in his life. Otherwise, giving big understanding about this or that, what does it matter? Can we please Krishna by all our big qualifications? We cannot. Krishna is pleased with our humility, not with our big qualifications on our head. Isn't it? So, this is very important to understand about what does culture means in Brahmacharya. Culture is not simply about theoretical knowledge. Culture is about changing our ideas, changing our attitude, being obedient, learning all these important principles is culture of knowledge. Isn't it? So we'll stop with this. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki